So here's what we're going to do. We only have a couple items to hit. Christy and I are going to chat briefly about something we call the price of admission. You've heard everyone say that the training event is free, and it is financially free, but we're going to tell you what the expectations are. Then we're going to quickly highlight a couple of coming events. And then what we're going to do at the end is we're going to go to some of your questions and have it's not a live Q&A, but your questions were throughout this open house, and we'll answer as many as we can. So Christy, why don't I turn it to you to start the discussion on the price of admission?
Sure, and let me just put the link to our standards into the chat so that people can access them. And I also want to just very quickly say, you know, Sue Rohr is one of the premier trainers in the country and running a nationally acclaimed training academy for many years. And it is great to have her affirm that the training pedagogy on which ABLE is based is really first class. And thank you, Deidre, for that really helpful explanation of that. And we're working on making it even better. I'm sure that many of you, like myself, have seen some great police training, and you've seen some truly terrible police training. And we want to assure all of you that we get that, we understand that, and we are committed to making sure that ABLE is not just great ideas, but it's going to be great training. So it's going to actually be training that people enjoy, even though it will make them uncomfortable at times, and that they will be something they will learn from and help you actually change behavior. That is the intent of this program. And it is because of that intent that we know that ABLE can't be about training alone. It has to be, in order for active bystandership to take hold in an agency, it has to be part of the agency's culture. And so that is what we are committed to achieving with this program. We want everyone to be open to this, but as we said at the outset, we want to be sure that people don't just go out and tell their communities, we've done ABLE training, we've got this active bystandership thing under control, when really they haven't done what they need to support it. And we know that if you're listening to this, that you want the same thing for your community. So our plan for this is to basically have 10 standards, and that we don't recognize everybody to have those in place the moment that they sign up for this, but we do need people to commit to those. And we are committed to helping you carry those out. So the first is community support, that you, which we are anticipating that will be reflected in a letter that the agency will submit from at least 2 different community groups, local groups advocating for changes in policing, etc. Just vouching for the sincerity of the agency's interest in self-improvement and in ABLE in particular. Meaningful training, Deidre noted this, the 8 hours of initial training, 2 hours of annual refresher training, and to incorporate that training into other topics. So that officers can see it as it is actually going to arise in the course of their work. The third one is dedicated coordination. We need to have the department commit somebody. It doesn't have to be full time, but somebody knows that this is their wheelhouse. They need to help make sure that this program is becomes part of the agency culture, that the training is delivered, and all of those details. Program awareness is really important from the chief down. Everyone needs to understand that this is a thing, it's happening. I'm sure many of you have had the experience as I have. You have some great program, and outside the people who are charged with carrying it out, no one in the department really seems to know it's happening. This isn't going to work if that dynamic happens here. Accountability. That, you know, you have to have a strong anti-retaliation policy to ensure that interveners are not punished or targeted or otherwise ostracized, and that the agency is going to investigate instances of apparent retaliation. And that's, again, that is part of, in the misconduct policies, disciplinary policies have to support that as well. It's simply the idea that you will be supporting people who support intervention. The sixth one is officer wellness. There's a lot of research showing the link between officer wellness and outward misconduct, and it's just the right thing to do for police officers to make sure that they're taken care of mentally and emotionally, and that their families are cared for. And again, it's going to be very difficult to implement this program in your department if an officer can't intervene, and there's nowhere for that officer to go. So we want the agency to have a meaningful officer wellness program, including access to professional counselors. Again, if you're a small agency, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to hire your own counselor, but there are obviously different ways that you can and probably already are making those services available to your officers. The seventh thing is reporting. The active bystandership program is not intended to alter the agency's reporting policies. And I love the way that Ted Quant put it, that there's a lot of stories that aren't told because of ABLE and active bystandership. And I think that is going to hold true. It's not going to change the reporting obligation of any officer. But if an officer should have intervened and did not, that is still going to be part of your process in your agency. Eighth, measuring officer perceptions. One of the ways we're going to measure the impact of this program is through surveys of officers. We are going to develop those surveys, and we are hoping that people will use the survey that we provide with your input so that we can sort of compare apples to apples. It'll be, you know, anonymous and just aggregate information released just to allow us and you to know the impact this program is having in agencies across the country. Finally, or second to last, follow through, that it really has to be implemented department-wide and has the support of agency leadership and command level staff. And that is going to, and we need to be able to take a look at that. So just being able to share with us your policies and your training curriculum so that we know that we are comfortable saying, yes, this is an ABLE program. And then finally, what we're calling number 10, paying it forward, that you're going to make reasonable effort so that when your instructors have been ABLE trained, that you're going to make them available as you can to surrounding law enforcement agencies at no charge, other than, you know, travel expenses or things like that, just so that, again, we can try to make this sort of program and training available to as many law enforcement officers as possible. And if those principles seem feasible and acceptable to you, then please feel free to register and send 1 to 3 instructors to our Train the Trainer event in September. And I'll turn it over to Jonathan to talk a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Christy. So the big event that Christy just mentioned is the Train the Trainer event, and Sue talked about that. There is an event before that I want to make sure I mention because it's a wonderful event. The New Orleans Police Department and Loyola University New Orleans will be holding its 3rd annual EPIC conference. And you can get the information about the EPIC Leadership Conference. It's a great virtual this year, 2-day conference. Some of the same speakers you heard today will be going into a lot more depth. I think last year at our conference, we had over 115 police leaders attend. So check out the ABLE website and you'll see how to register for that. And then also we will keep updating the ABLE website with more information about the inaugural Train the Trainer event.